A very good evening to everyone present here today. I, Ruchika Sharma,
And I, Nitin Pillai,
on behalf of the Institute of Management, Nirma University, extend a warm welcome to this inaugural session for students of batch 2022-24 for all the MBA programs. The chief guest for the inaugural session is Mr. Ganesh Nayak, Executive Director, Zydus Group. We are also happy to have with us today Dr. Anup Singh, Director General, Nirma University, and Dr. Subir Verma, Director, Institute of Management, Nirma University.
seeking the blessings of the Almighty is the best way to begin any earnest endeavor. We request the audience to kindly stand up for the Saraswati Vandana. Thank you, everyone. We would now like to showcase a video about Nirma University.
A university is a knowledge enterprise that contributes to social, political, economic and scientific development of nations and society. And we at Nirma University, with the Honorable President Dr. Karsanbhai Patel's vision to contribute to the development of the society, strive to build a strong foundation for our country's bright tomorrow.
Verma University is committed to contribute to the society by providing its students relevant knowledge and skills, engaging the learning environment and state-of-art facilities. Our vision is shaping a better future for mankind and developing effective, socially responsible individuals and organizations.
Our academic and administrative systems work toward ensuring the achievement of our mission. We are committed to put Nirma University on a world map.
These leaders would develop a better future for mankind so that all of us prosper. Nirma University is also developing as a research university and it does cutting-edge research and innovation.
Nirma University was established in the year 2003 and has gradually, over the years, earned the stature of one of the most prestigious universities in India. What started as an initiative of Nirma Education and Research Foundation in the year 1994 went on to expand into being Gujarat's first self-financing engineering institute in 1995 and Autonomous Nirma Institute of Management in 1996. Contribution towards excellence in higher education led to the birth of Nirma University in the year 2003 through a legislative process, and it became the first private university in the state of Gujarat. Nirma University then went on to create a faculty of doctoral studies and research in 2004 to promote doctoral education, contributing over 350 PhD graduates till date. Over the years, we have developed programs in the fields of technology, management, pharmacy, science, law, architecture and planning, commerce and design. Nirma University is recognized by the University Grants Commission under Section 2F of the UGC Act. The university was awarded an A grade in 2015 by National Assessment and Accreditation Council. The Institute of Technology is known for producing high-quality engineers through its various departments. It is well known for imparting quality education, conducting applied research, and in nurturing students for their holistic development. Continuous evaluation, blended learning, choice-based credit system, industrial visits, industry projects, expert lectures, soft skills development, and critical thinking programs aim to nurture the students for a brighter future and enable them to shine in today's competitive world.
At the Nirma University, we get an overview of the academic world as well as the real world.
So basically, this university breeds knowledge and equips its faculty with every tool that is required to develop and groom our students.
The Institute of Management imparts world-class business education. It has emerged as a national business school and has played a vital role in producing new generation of leaders over a period of 2 decades.
At the Institute of Management, Nirma University, students are trained to take informed decisions and drive organizations towards their goal.
It offers various programs in the area of business administration.
Institute of Management, Nirma University has provided us with various opportunities for personal learning.
Institute of Pharmacy promotes excellence in pharmaceutical education and prepares young men and women to take on the challenges ahead in the areas of pharmaceutical industry, R&D, and education. The modern labs with upgraded equipment ensure holistic pharmacy education, with an animal house and an herbal garden to provide the students on-ground experience. Nirma University has managed to build an entire ecosystem that every pharmacy student dreams of.
Institute of Pharmacy provide excellent laboratory facilities equipped with sophisticated instruments to inculcate research aptitude as well as develop the skills of our students very efficiently and effectively.
The Institute of Law was set up in the year 2007 with a vision to promote excellence in the field of legal education and to fulfill the ever-increasing demand of quality legal professionals for a growing legal world.
Increasing globalization of business and advancement of technology has given rise to the enormous complex legal issues, and that has brought a paradigm shift in the role of legal profession today. We as an Institute of Law, Nirma University, focuses more on the skill enhancement process and the experiential learning education that really help the students to make themselves the practice-ready professionals.
The professors at Nirma University are our pride. Besides imparting high-quality instruction, they play the role of a guide, friend, and mentor to all those who study under them. They are actively engaged in conducting cutting-edge research and innovation.
Professors at Nirma have helped me inculcate the ability to learn. They own an extraordinary ability to explain. Their enthusiasm and passion to teach encourages us all. The professors here ensures that the class goes beyond the classroom.
Our recent adoption of outcome-based education has added a lot of value to we as a faculty as well as to our students.
The 110-acre sprawling state-of-the-art campus provides refreshing environment and stimulates intellectual growth and creativity. The university campus has a serene academic ambience that motivates the student to focus on development and all-round growth. The university is a community perpetually in motion, with the students running clubs, planning and executing national and international activities, competitions, annual technical and cultural festivals and life projects. The university is committed to research and innovation. It has established a Directorate of Research and Innovation that promotes and coordinates various research activities at different levels. Institute of Science offers master's and doctoral level programs in biotechnology, microbiology and biochemistry. The institute houses 6 research laboratories, a central instrumental facility, plant growth lab, animal cell culture and insectarium. It is nationally recognized for its contribution in the field of biotechnology and life sciences. Established in 2014, Institute of Architecture and Planning offers a 5-year Bachelor's of Architecture program and a 4-year Bachelor's of Planning program. The students are given local, regional and international exposure to hone their skills in the fields of architecture and planning.
Here at the Institute of Architecture and Planning, we try and create innovative solutions. Basically, we learn that creativity lies in the details, and those details help us in shaping our surroundings.
The Institute of Commerce intends to prepare students for their career in the accounting profession and BFSI sector. The curriculum includes both a theoretical as well as a practical exposure and is facilitated through experiential learning, summer internship and project work. The Department of Design offers 4-year programs in the fields of industrial design and communication design. It aims to encourage creative thinking that is inclusive, sustainable and exciting. Nirma University is equally committed to the employability and employment of the students. All the institutes of the university have active placement cells that train the students for jobs and organize placement activities in reputed companies.
I believe that my decision of joining this institution as an engineering student was the best decision I made as a teenager, and that has changed my life ever since.
Nirma University is closely networked with its different stakeholders. For example, it has among others active MOUs with ISRO, IPR and PRL for research. It has MOUs with a host of universities in the different parts of the globe for student and faculty exchange and joint research. Its students are absorbed by companies like Goldman Sachs, JP Morgan, Accenture, HUL, Amazon, Novartis, etc. The central goal that Nirma University stands for is to provide a stellar education and lifelong learning skills and the means to do so effectively to all its students.
For me, Nirma has been a monumental milestone towards my goals, and for that, I will always be grateful.
The university strives to bring about a positive transformation in the lives of its students and enables them to become independent, confident, and self-sufficient citizens.
That was a glimpse into the wonderful work that happened at Nirma University. Now I would like to request Dr. Subir Verma to escort our guests to the dais. Thank you, sir. We are honored to have Mr. Ganesh Nayak, Executive Director, Zydus Group, as the chief guest for the inaugural session. Mr. Ganesh Nayak is the Executive Director of Zydus Group and he has a Master's in Business Administration from Newport University, California. He has also completed the General Management Program from Harvard Business School, Boston in 2002. With over 45 years of rich experience with Zydus Life Science, he has played key strategic and operational roles during the successful restructuring of business operations of the erstwhile Cadila Laboratories Limited in 1995. Zydus Life Sciences today is the 5th largest Indian pharma company with a turnover exceeding rupees 60,000 crores, 23,000 employees and a market cap of rupees 38,000 crores. Mr. Nayak has served in various functions such as field, product, marketing and general management, along with a rich experience in business development, domestic and global operations, consumer products, joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions, strategic and corporate planning. He is on the board of the listed parent company, Zydus Life Sciences Limited, formerly known as Cadila Healthcare Limited, the listed subsidiary Zydus Wellness Limited, and many other companies. It is indeed an honor to have Mr. Ganesh Nayak with us today. We request Dr. Anup Singh to present a bouquet to Mr. Ganesh Nayak and welcome him.
Thank you, sirs. We are honored to have with us today Dr. Anup Singh, Director General, Nirma University. Prior to this, he was Director, Institute of Management, Nirma University, Professor of Organizational Behavior at MDI Gurgaon, Professor and Dean at IMNU New Delhi, and Director at Jaipuria Institute of Management, Noida. Earlier, he had been a postdoctoral fellow at the University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and visiting scholar at Kellogg's Graduate School of Business Administration. He has authored 8 books and several articles and has been editor of Vision, the Journal of Business Perspective. Sir is a recipient of several awards for teaching, has received several awards for teaching excellence, and he has also consulted with several national and international organizations, including Bharat Electronics, British Council, NLF, Samsung Electronics India Limited, DLF, New Holland, and National Thermal Power Corporation Limited, etc. He has also developed National Human Resource Development Policy for the Royal Government of Bhutan. His research interests are leadership, student engagement, and institution building. We welcome you, sir.
We also have with us Dr. Subir Verma, Director, Institute of Management, Nirma University. Professor Subir Verma has more than 30 years of research, teaching, training, and consulting experience at reputed institutes of India such as MDI Gurgaon, IMI New Delhi, IIM Ranchi, Ford School of Management, and Delhi University. He has served as Dean Academics at IIM Ranchi, Dean Corporate Relations, Placements and Alumni Affairs, and as well as Chairman PGD HRM at IIM New Delhi. He was Chairman Corporate Relations and Placements, Chairman Postgraduate Programs and International Accreditations at MDI Gurgaon. He was also Chairman Postgraduate Programs and International Accreditations at Ford School of Management, New Delhi. Professor Verma is an active trainer. He has conducted international advanced management programs for general managers and group general managers of ONGC and MDPs for the senior and middle management of Navratnas and Maharatna public sector enterprises. He has consulted with Nestle India, SMEC India, SMS Demang, Campsax, Get It, Siemens Power, National Geographic, Government of Jharkhand, and the World Bank. We welcome you, sir. Now we request Dr. Anup Singh, Honorable Director General, Nirma University, to deliver the welcome address.
Mr. Nayak, Professor Verma, faculty colleagues, and dear students. First of all, I would like to express my extreme happiness to see a very old well-wisher of Nirma Institute of Management after almost 2 decades, or around that. Mr. Nayak was our board member when we were Nirma Institute of Management and we were an autonomous school. And he has contributed significantly to the growth and development of this institute. And I'm happy to share with you that when you were in the board, then we used to have one section of PGDM. At that time it was PGDM. Now we have 9 sections of PGDM, 900% growth, right? At that time, we were only in PG education. Now we are also in UG education. And I remember, in 2002, we were struggling for placement. You might recall, .com bust happened, and it was a difficult year. And last year, we were able to place all the students who wanted placement, right? So before I come to the topic, I thought that it is my duty to inform Mr. Nayak that the foundation where he played a very important role is working. I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome the students who have decided to come with us. Some of you may be very happy about it because you got the school that you wanted. Some of you may not be very happy about it because probably you were hoping for some other school and you could not make it there, and then probably you decided, okay, Nirma mein mila, Nirma mein chalte hain. But what I can promise you that Nirma University is different. We always believe in under-projecting and under-promising and overdoing and over-performing. That is the value system of Nirma University, and of course that is also value system of Nirma Institute of Management. And I think any enterprise is all about value. And as a management graduate, you are going to start a new journey. Management education is all about transformation. It's about electrification. It is about total change. And after 2 years, my expectation is that all of you should be a very different person. And don't think that this institute is going to do that for you. Right? We are just catalysts. We would facilitate the process, but the responsibility lies with you that how do you transform yourself? How do you galvanize yourself? How do you electrify yourself? Well, let me tell you, there is no education like management education. I have been, a critic in my life. So, whatever comes before me, first I will tear it into pieces and I will not accept it like that. So I have been always critical of management education, but my study and my experience tells me no education like management education, because it adds tremendous value to you. And you should be ready to take maximum out of it. That is my first submission. My second submission is that once you are a manager, MBA is just the beginning. You have to continuously study. And the reason is that the business world is so flexible, so changing, so unpredictable, so disorganized, that whatever you predict about it is not going to happen. And therefore, you have to be very, very careful in your responses. Any business organization is about economic value. Organizations are created to come out with much greater, much higher economic value. And that's what we call profit motive. Nothing wrong with profit motive, because profit is good as long as there are other values going with profit value. Right? And here is, a very senior manager who has experienced that. And Zydus is one organization which has created tremendous economic value, but also tremendous social value. And the very fact that he is with Zydus Group for 45 years shows how much social value the organization has created. Keeping a person for 45 years. I mean, you don't want to work with an organization for 45 days. Now I think, it used to be 1 year. I'm told that now it has gone down to 1 month. You go to an organization, you like it for 1 month, and after 1 month, oh, I want something better. So always keep in mind what kind of social value you are creating, right? If you are not able to create social value wherever you are, then you would not be valued. And organizations can be very, very harsh. So as long as you are creating economic value, you are able to create social value, you are going to be valued. The third kind of value is personal value. What value you are adding to yourself? How are you managing your emotions? Because as I shared with you, that the business world is unpredictable, conflicting, confusing, contrary. The same kind of chaos is there within you. So don't think that you are a very rational, clean, clear human being. If you look inside you, then you will find that you are highly confused, highly contradictory, and highly conflicting. And therefore, you have to ask yourself, oh, how can I navigate more effectively? And don't be worried, all of us, including me, we have conflicts, we have contradictions, we have confusion. But the point is that how do you navigate, and if you are able to navigate by managing your emotions, by continuously evaluating and evolving yourself. So there is, a saying in Gita, and I like that shloka the most. The self is the best friend of the self, and self is the worst enemy of the self. Right? And having proposed that, Krishna tells, let us elevate the self with the help of the self. So don't think that somebody else is going to do it for you. You are going to do it for you. Right? And the fourth value is the moral value. And somehow some people have this belief, business mein sab kuch chalta hai. Right? As long as you are making money. There was a time, there was a group, Sahara group. And now the owner is under jail for so many years. Because he believed, sab kuch chalta hai. Sab kuch nahi chalta hai, mere dost. Right? You have to understand the legal dimensions of the things. You have to understand the ethical dimensions of the thing. You have to understand the moral dimensions of the things. Because we are not going to have second life. And why should I do wrong things? And if I do the right thing, at least I respect myself. It does not matter what the world tells about me. What do I tell about myself? That is the most important thing. If others have undermined you, and that would always happen. We are in a very competitive world, so nobody is going to praise us. But the problem arises when I'm not able to praise myself. I'm undermining myself. Right? So you should respect yourself. And that is only possible when you are living by certain moral, ethical, and legal values. I'm adding legal values. Not many people say that legality is important. And therefore, you have to plan your studies. And I'm going to tell you the mantra. Because you are going to go through these 4 phases of MBA. The first phase is known as mad phase. So in the first trimester, you're going to go mad. And any student who does not go mad, I would feel that he's really or she's really mad. Right? Because the first, you'll find that, the pace is so fast. There is so much to study, right? And the second phase, which happens in second trimester, is known as sad phase. I didn't bargain for it, right? I wanted to have a normal life. Thanks God, I have not gone mad, but I have gone sad, right? So still, you have to work very hard. But by the time you come to the third trimester, you have glad phase. So you become glad. I can manage it because that's how the business life is. It's very demanding. The business life is all about adding value. And you know, your boss would not say, oh, I understand you have problems. The boss would say, okay, give me results. I'm not concerned about what happens to you, what happens to your family. Here, we are for results, right? And second year, there is flared phase. You have flown, right? So, and then you know how to really navigate. So take all these phases in stride. It would happen, and it happens, right? So if you are highly confused, if you're highly stressed in the first trimester, it happens. All your seniors who have come to this school, they have experienced the mad phase. And if you think that you will not experience, it is not going to happen. The second thing, which your faculty would not tell you, I should tell you, and that is, getting into Nirma is difficult, but getting out of Nirma is more difficult. So Nirma is going to stick to you, right? So there would be all kind of assessment, all kind of expectations, and unless you work very hard, I can tell you they are not going to leave you easily, right? So take your studies very seriously. At the same time, you know, when I was having discussion with your faculty members, they say, okay, you know, there should be fun with studies. So we are also creating that. There is a new plaza, right? Now, very soon it would be completed. Then, at least from the university side, we are open. Whatever facilities are required, you tell us. And I also requested Professor Verma and my colleagues that there should be more activities related to personal development. Because, see, ultimately, you know, in the corporate world, nobody looks into your CGPA, right? People look into what kind of person you are, right? How do you speak? How do you behave, right? So therefore, you have to focus on personal development, and I can tell you that we are committed to that. And the last thing that I'd like to share with you, that when you learn, again, there are 4 ways to learn. The first way is in the classroom, right? So you have cases, you have exercises, you have problems, you have lectures. That is just 25% of your studies. Worst way? You know, if somebody does that, I will say you are not worth being a manager. If you can't eat your breakfast, how you are going to add value to the organization?
Thank you, everyone. We would now request the chief guest for our inaugural session, Mr. Ganesh Nayak, to kindly address the audience. Please.
So respected Dr. Anup Singh, Dr. Subir Verma, members of the faculty and my dear friends. After listening to Dr. Anup Singh, I had listened to him some 20 years ago. I think along with the development of the university, Dr. Anup Singh, you also have evolved, I must say, to a very great extent. And I have no reason to flatter you or praise you. But first of all, I think you have taken, to use a phrase, the thunder from my presentation. Because you have addressed all those basic elements which are required for a group of students who are starting or embarking on such a journey of learning. And you have done it in such ample measure with such clarity that honestly, very rarely, because today you see the internet is such a thing, you put leadership, you get 10,000 people from the President of the United States to somebody else in terms of what their talks are. See, and again, let me elaborate. You spoke about galvanizing, you spoke about electrification, then you spoke about values, you spoke about economic value, you spoke about moral value, you spoke about the personal value, then you spoke about the uncertainty of the business environment. And I thought you would use the word VUCA. I think all of you are familiar with the word VUCA. VUCA. I mean, well, it's been in vogue for the last 10 years. It was a term used by the army people some 50 years ago. VUCA, VUCA, it's an acronym for volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. That is the environment. And you spoke about the persona. It is so important. Just academic qualification is not sufficient. To some extent, I'll try to dwell on that in my presentation. See, personality is what God has given. I mean, genetically speaking, you have length, breadth, color, and all those things. But a persona is 50% your physical personality and 50% how you carry yourself, which comes from your education, from your interpersonal relationships with people who are good. And, I was reminded of what I heard some 20 years ago. When a person passes away from his human being, there are two virtues. One is called the resume virtue and the other is the eulogy virtue. Resume virtue is, my virtue. I mean, I studied here, I studied there, I was in this position, I reached the pinnacle of my career, I was this, etc. That's a resume virtue. Eulogy virtue is, when you know more, how people talk about you. And both these are equally important. In fact, in today's context, the eulogy virtue is far more important than your resume virtue. And I think you spoke about, you gave an example. You said, nobody can stop me, who cares? And the person right now is behind bars. So what is his eulogy virtue? I mean, he's a thief. You kind of call him a scoundrel, etc. Would you like to have that kind of a eulogy virtue? His resume virtue, he might be 20,000 crore rupees worth, but that's of no use. Then you also spoke about the mental well-being. And trust me, in fact, just before I came, I was talking to my chairman and we were talking about how to address the mental health situation in the company as well as, in our environment. And I'll give you two examples where things are flying completely off the handle. I don't know whether you read recently, I think about 2 or 3 weeks back, there was this IT professional, some 35 years old, who had gone to a shopping complex in Chennai with his wife's sister, and his 2 young children. And he ordered for a taxi or a Uber or something. And this guy came with a minivan. And as he was talking to him or negotiating the fare, his children got into the van. It seems the owner of that cab lost his temper and he said, you asked these children to get out of my vehicle. We have not even decided the fare. How come they can go into my vehicle? So this I told him, you can't talk like this. I mean, I'm your customer, etc. And in that discussion which took place, that guy lost his temper, this driver, and he had a phone. And he struck this guy on his head. Long story short, he died. Now, can you imagine? For such a petty thing as this kind of a communication transaction, a life was lost. So that's an example on the ground. Now let's go to Japan. Shinzo Abe, the prime minister of a highly developed country, the ex-prime minister, he was assassinated in broad daylight by somebody who made a gun at home, because in Japan the gun laws are very, very, very strict. It is impossible to procure an arms license in Japan. So what did he do? Some 3D or something, he made a weapon at home and he fired him. Can you imagine? So easily a life was taken, and such an important life. So today mental health is very, very, I have several cases in the recent past, and more with the COVID situation, people have started losing their balance faster than what they did earlier. You have borderline personality disorder, you have schizophrenia, you have bipolar disease, you have depression, and all those things you very, very, I don't know what is the appropriate word, but so rightly you addressed it, that you have to keep the balance from within yourself. You can't seek counseling every time. You can't go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist. You have to build that strength from within to understand what is right, what is wrong, how much you have to swallow, how much of it you have to vomit. So, sir, I think you have actually completed the whole inaugural address session of today. And honestly, you did it really very well. If I remember all those things, you can understand what impact it would have made on my mind if I would repeat what you spoke of, and I have not made any notes or so. So that being said, from my side, a submission I have to make is, I'm no motivator, and I very, very rarely speak in fora like this. The last, I think, was in 2013, 10 years ago, when I addressed a group of students here. And between then and now, I would have had maybe 4 or 5 addresses. Not that I don't have invitations, but somehow I try to refrain myself from addressing. This time, one is Nirma University is, well, I would not loosely say it is close to my heart. My son graduated from here in electronics and communication some 20 years ago. And those days, as Professor said, this university was not in the same league as it is today. Today, it is an outstanding, it is one of the best. It is even acknowledged outside of the country that Nirma is a great university. So one is because, I've come here several times for the admission of my son, and later on, as he said, I was on the board. And a wall separates us now. Our new office you would have seen every time when I walk, because it's a long, I tell people that this we call as a Nirma corner. And whenever I come there, I look into your campus and I feel so good. So you are very fortunate. One is from physicality, such a big campus, such a good campus. And Professor, I did not know, you may have mentioned that you offer one of the best facilities available for sports. And sports is very, very important. I will try to dwell on that a little bit in my presentation. So I am, to say something which is said quite often, I'm really happy. I'll not say it's my pleasure to be present here, etc. I'm really happy that I'm, amongst students, because your career begins. And he made a mention today, I'm an odd man out. Nobody works in any organization for 45 years, at least in the pharma industry. There is no example of any executive, and this is not my father's company, that, I can continue working this. I'm an employed executive. I started from the field. And fortunately, the company grew, the promoters are very good, they have a very high social value, their ethics are absolutely above board, and I call myself a very fortunate person. That being said, these presentations I'm slightly not comfortable with, and that reminds me, Steve Jobs, you heard of Steve Jobs, no? He had 2 things. He used to say, whenever he used to come in a meeting, he used to say, okay, first of all, we are going to discuss these 2-3 subjects. I want to know who are the DRIs for these 3. You know what is the DRI? Who is the directly responsible individual? And Professor, you kind of alluded to that by saying, your boss is going to ask you for results. I'm not interested in what the problems you had, whatever. I'm interested in results. So likewise, Steve Jobs used to say, I want to know who are the DRIs. If this is the thing, who is the DRI? I don't want 5 people talking about, no teamwork, etc. Teamwork is fine, but at the end of the presentation, my take home is going to be, I need for these 3 subjects on the table, 3 directly responsible individuals, which I think is very, very important. We see in our operations. The other is, he used to say, I don't like PowerPoint presentations. PowerPoint presentations are for those people who do not understand their business. Not that I agree with him, but to a great extent, you see, I'm more comfortable talking to you like this than when I would be when I start making my presentation. And likewise, Professor, and you spoke, not from the heart, etc. You spoke from your head, obviously, from your experience, etc. You would have made your notes to speak. But what you spoke was very, very relevant. Because today, we find, not I, a lot of people speak, but they keep around, beating around the bush and talk about things from here to there, and then no head, no tail, and the audience is left aghast. What was this guy really trying to say? One point before I start with the presentation, I had given an interview to this Dr. Sujaya Banerjee some 3-4 months back. And she had asked me to address her senior leadership team, which I refused. Then she said, at least let me have an interview. And I think that interview has been forwarded to you. I would suggest you go through that interview, because not my life story, but you'll understand what are the important things, because you referred to it, I think, almost thrice, that as a manager, you are going to be faced with so many things, many of those which would not have been taught to you in these 2 or 3 years that you're going to be here. And those will come from several different ways you conduct yourself. So in that interview, if you go through, you'll find there are different phases of my career, how the company grew, what are the challenges one had or I had. I think you should go through that interview. In fact, if you go through that interview, you would not need me to even come and present. In fact, when Rajesh Kikani first spoke to me, I said, yeah, that interview is good enough. You don't need me to come and spend the time, not waste, spend the time of the students as well as the faculty. He said, no, you must come, etc. And that's why I'm here. So please go through that interview for whatever it's worth. I feel it would. And I say why I feel, because, I never knew it was put on the YouTube, and it got more than some 50,000 views, which even I was surprised. Even Dr. Sujaya Banerjee was surprised. So having said that, let me start with the presentation. You have what is it? Yeah, okay. So go to the first slide, please. So I had several topics which came to my mind. There were topics of leadership, how to conduct yourself, etc. But I thought the most appropriate thing for you here would be on how to conduct yourself over these 2 years and how to prepare yourself over these 2 years to face the world after you come out of college. And you very well said, getting in Nirma is difficult, but getting out is even more difficult, correct? So I think this presentation to some extent would address that thing too. So tips to be employment ready when you step out of college. Pointer. Yeah, thank you. So this is, I don't like to take quotes from outside, but I felt in this context, this was to some extent relevant, and that's why I chose this. What does it say? It says you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Bottom line is, you cannot be a complete introvert. You'll have to realize that you have to start interacting with people if you have to progress. Start building a network. If you know any professional contacts in your area, start making connections. Like, for example, now you know me, if you have my email address, etc. If you have some interest in the pharmaceutical area, try to send me an email. And, if you have some questions, if you have some ideas, etc., try to exchange with people who you know in a particular business which may be of interest to you. Attend industry events and join professional associations from a place like Nirma. If you're aware of some meeting going on in some company, and if you ask for an audience or if you ask to be invited, I don't think you would get no as an answer, but you must take the initiative. Conduct informal interviews, research companies of interest, craft precise questions, and call a contact to learn more. Again, this is more of interacting with the external community. Networking is not just about connecting people, it is about connecting people with ideas and people with opportunities. Be a voice in the noise. You can't just afford to be sitting from a classroom to your dormitory or your room and then back. You'll have to have an openness to what is happening around in the world. You'll have to be a voice in the noise because there is a lot of noise around. And how do you do that? Showcase your knowledge, highlight the skills which you have, express yourself, and meet people. This is a very general statement. Now, this is a very important thing. And trust me, it is really important. In fact, you spoke about the persona. These are the 3 A's. What are the 3 A's? I have come to the conclusion on the basis of my experience of meeting people all over the world that these 3 A's are most important. And you can address these 3 A's now. If you become 40, 50, 60 years old, it will become very difficult. You must remember these 3 A's because these 3 A's make up your persona, make up what you are when you present yourself to the world. The first is academics. You must have a fairly good level of education, generally speaking. In your case, you have a very good, you're studying in the Nirma University, which is a very renowned, acknowledged, accomplished university. So there you get 8 out of 10. I mean, as I said, you don't accept anything, you tear everything to pieces before, all that. I never give myself or anybody 10 out of 10. But 8 out of 10 is very good. So on academics, you get 8 out of 10. The second is athletics. Trust me, I can talk to you for another at least 15 minutes, giving you 5 examples of what I have seen in the last 3 months of cancer, of an aortic dissection, of a prostate cancer, of obesity-related cardiac disease, of a stroke related because of abdominal obesity. I mean, many such cases which are related to the well-being of the body. And how can you take care of your body? Athletics. I mean, you said, I was so happy to hear, you said we have a lot of sports facilities. Now, it's not necessary that you have to be a boxer or you have to be an Olympic runner, but make sure, in a concise manner, athletics means keep your body fit. You have to keep your body fit. Body fit, and medically speaking, abdominal obesity is the biggest danger. There are people who are very thin, but they have abdominal obesity, and that is a major cause of cardiac disease. But let me not get into the medical side. Academics is your education, Nirma, very good. Athletics is in your hands. Keep yourself fit. Trust me, I starve to make sure that I don't put on weight. So that is athletics. And the last is aesthetics. You also alluded to that. Aesthetics is, I'm not saying you wear fancy branded stuff and all that, but you should dress fairly well. You should be presentable. When you go for an interview, when you go to meet people, when you go to somebody's house, they might not criticize you or not comment on your, on the way you dress, but you have to present yourself aesthetically. So aesthetics is very important. And you don't have to go to a school. You can read, etc. You see movies, etc. Not that you try to dress up like that Ranveer Singh with all those fancy stuff, but you should know, like business dress is known, dark trouser and white or light shirts. You can't wear a dark blue shirt and a gray or yellow trouser, etc. Go for it's standard. Every you see any finance, etc. Dark trousers and light shirt. And there are so many other things which I don't want to spend time here. But remember these 3 things: academics, athletics, and aesthetics. You have to be well educated, you have to be in a good physical shape, and you have to present yourself well in terms of your dressing. This relates to what I just said about those 3 A's. Walk the talk, keep commitments. Your word is very, very important. Trust me, and as they say, word of mouth spreads very fast on what kind of a character you have. Professor did not mention specifically about character, but the things which he mentioned were actually relating to the fact that you have to also build your character. And see, my son has studied here 20 years ago, and I know what was the kind of discipline which was required there. And I'm told even now that discipline exists, which is quite a tough one. But trust me, you might feel bad now, but later on you'll appreciate this in life. So keep commitments, have good manners, dress stylishly. Now, speaking of good manners, let me tell you this. We had a good business in Japan, and Kawabata-san was the president of this Japanese business. When he left, he said, Nayak-san, they had son today. He said, Nayak-san, I have two things to share with you now that I'm leaving the company. He says, one thing I've found bad in India and also in our company is people never say thank you or sorry. And I fully agree with him, because I know in our company, very few people say thank you. And when you go abroad, etc., waiters, even they don't have peons, etc., even if a peon comes with a glass of water and gives you, they'll say thank you. Whereas here we think, it's his job. No, why is he doing that? And sorry? We feel humiliated. Why should I say sorry? Yeah? I'm a big boss, etc., so you feel bad, it's fine. Go. It's okay, it's your problem. So you must learn, please understand, the biggest asset you will have is to say thank you and sorry. If you ask me while going out, what is my take-home message for you? These two things. You should always say thank you and always be ready to say sorry. That is good manners. This I have already spoken of. Compliment people often. And here also I find at the boss level, people hesitate to say, well, you have done a good job, great showman. They hesitate because they feel it will go to his head, and then tomorrow his demands will increase and all that. But you should have a balance. You should know how to do it. But you must compliment people, because we are all human beings. And deep within, apart from the salaries you draw, the promotions you get, when somebody says a good job done, it psychologically puts you at a different level of comfort in the organization. Cultivate a personal branding. Well, some of us are capable, some of us are not. Not a very important thing, but try. At least try to make yourself exclusive. Don't be general. Do things differently. Take initiatives and be consistent. One thing I always tell my colleagues and managers is, if you want to be a good performer at home, in the business, etc., there are three very important things. First is, you should always be ready to take initiatives. You cannot accept and continue with the status quo. You have to keep on taking initiative. The second is, you have to be proactive, not reactive. Normally what happens is, I just heard this company has launched a product, and they priced it half our price, so that is reaction. You have to be proactive. Proactive means you have to be prepared if somebody launches it. Third is preemptive. Initiative is simple to understand. Proactive is very simple. Preemptive is slightly at a supra level. Preemptive means you have to have a deep thought to understand what could happen if this company does that, and what is the probability of this company doing it. If I study the history of this company, my competitor, they have always done this. This product, which is my main product, this company, it is possible that they might come out with this strategy. So you have to be preemptive. Broadly speaking, take initiatives, be proactive, and be preemptive. Be conscious of your posture. Wherever you are, in the classroom, with your friends, with your family, in your organization, you have to understand that your posture is how you present or project yourself. This I'm sure all of you are aware, but for the sake of good order, I thought I must include this. Build multiple resumes. Build resumes while in college, keeping industries or positions that you aspire to take after you step out of college. Tailor each resume to each individual position. Highlight soft skills. I think Professor made a mention. He said it's not only your qualification, it also depends on how you conduct yourself, what are your interpersonal skills, how is your behavior. So highlight soft skills. While you may not have all the job requirements on the company's wish list, you may indeed have the soft skills that companies seek, which should be highlighted in your resumes. So apart from that, I have done my MBA or PhD from the Nirma Institute. Before that, I did my graduation from wherever. You should also highlight your soft skills, which would mean I feel that I am good at handling tough situations. I feel that my level of interpersonal capabilities is quite appreciable, things like that. include all experience. In life is full of experience. No, I mean, professor, again, I'm taking again everything from him. He said, in this business, there is nothing constant. Please understand. It changes with every passing day. Competition has become so cutthroat that if you don't have time to sit back and relax, you don't know what is going to happen the next moment. And as they say, the higher you are, the steeper is the fall. If our company 16,000 crores with the market cap, listed company and all that, we have a lot of pressures. We have a lot of competition. So it's not so simple to sit in a high chair and you have all kinds of experiences. Now, mine is a different situation. In your case, after you pass out after 2 or 3 years, every past experience that you have gathered while in school or college is worth including in your resume. That shows your motivation and initiative. That is extracurricular activities, sports, etc. And I think you have a very good opportunity. From what we heard the professor say, you have the best facilities available. So please make use of those facilities. Stay connected. Today, I think most of us are connected through WhatsApp or Twitter or Instagram, etc. But just to add to that, it's easier to approach people for job search if you seek information and learn about an industry by keeping in touch with your contacts regularly. Start shooting out the resumes few months before graduation and make follow-up calls to reconfirm your interest in the organization, highlighting why you will make a great addition. He spoke about economic value, he spoke about social value, personal value. What is your individual value you bring to the table if you're going to join my company? That we will come to know in the course of our interview, but in your resume, if you can put that, it would help us, when we are weeding out the interviewees or candidates, to make sure that you are included. Take time out to meet your contacts by making appointments well in advance and not taking too much of your time. You'll have to be very graceful in that. Digital. I don't have to mention about what is digitalization. Earlier, I was telling Professor Verma, correct? Inside that earlier I used to go with such a big, when you made a mention that today what is the role of manpower and leadership. Earlier I used to go with such a big bunch of papers, make notes in the night, come down, my secretary used to come, I used to sit with him for 3-4 hours dictating, etc. Today that's dead. That is because of digitalizing. So it has gone into two processes. First is all the data is now digitized, means whatever was in papers, etc. is now in a digital form. And then the next step is digitalization, how to use that digitized data to get the best in terms of your strategy or your operations is digitalization. Create your profile, which I am sure most of you have already started doing. Join online professional communities and associations and clean up your social media profile once in a while. Don't have what you did today to last for 3 or 4 years. Cultivate skills. What I knew and what I did 45 years ago when I joined Cadila and what I know today, there is more than 45 multiplied by 10 years of difference. And that is because of the evolution. And that evolution has come because I have had an open mind and I have a tendency to learn from everyone, including my peon. As you will, if you go through that interview of mine, you will realize that. So you have to keep on cultivating skills, newer skills. Having a degree is not enough. You must increase your employability by learning new skills. Learn a new language which can increase your geographic horizon when looking for employment. Like today, we have operations in the US, Brazil, Mexico, Latin American countries, then France, Spain, South Africa, then Myanmar, Sri Lanka, then Taiwan, in so many countries, almost 20 countries we have active presences. Suppose you come for an interview and I ask you, okay, what do you know? And you say, sir, I also know some French. So, really? So what I'll do is I'll give you 5 marks more because we have French operations. Tomorrow, if the need be, you could be a good candidate. So that skill, now somebody might say, I have to learn a foreign language here, let me learn English first. English is taken for granted and it's not necessary that you should know very good English depending on your upbringing, where you were born, which convent or otherwise school you went, etc. It's not necessary that anybody who speaks good English is a great guy. But you have to learn any additional language out of the Indian context of languages. It will help you. Sometimes jobs in unrelated areas is a good way to obtain experience and develop new skills. This is a very academic kind of a statement. But you see, in my case, if you go through my interview, I had never thought of joining this. It was on my list of 10 things. Joining a pharmaceutical company was never there at all. A chance came by, I said, let me see 3-6 months, and then I stuck to it. It will definitely help you to get into areas where you are not familiar with. Because if you are a strong person, it will bring out the best in you, and then you will realize what you can deliver. And a good example I can give is my own example. I didn't know one bit about the pharmaceutical business, and today I'm running such a large organization, not running personally, with a group of team, etc., board and all that. But that is the opening you have. You don't have to just get into finance or marketing or only in the pharmaceutical industry or in the electronic industry or in the automobile industry. If some new opportunity comes, don't close your mind to it. I think all of you know it. If you just Google, you will get this transcription of what I have written here. Earlier in the industrial age, there were so many ways of running an organization, control disciplines for organizing and directing. Now we are moving away from the world of physical resources and relative stability. Intellectual capital is far more valuable. The point which you were making when we had this discussion in your room. Companies earlier were built for stability, consistency, and predictability. Today, we are built for change. And the ability to change is far more important than the ability to execute plans and processes. You must understand that. Nothing is constant. Everything is changing. You have to be very agile. Unless you're very agile, and I come to those 3 A's, a healthy body harbors a healthy mind. So if you have to be very agile, if you have to be very responsive to the situations, then you have to keep your knowledge as well as your body in good shape. And things will keep on changing. You will keep on being challenged. Today, nothing is local. Everything is global. Like I just came back from Brazil, France, and Spain 48 hours ago. And normally when we used to go, we used to buy something, etc. Now everything is available in India. There's nothing unless Xenia or Zara has come up with the new this, then in Spain, maybe if I go to the store, I might get it. But within 3 months, it is going to come to India. Price-wise also, many of the things are, trust me, are, I don't want to give the names of those brands, but they're cheaper in India, at least 5% than they would be if you buy it from anywhere, including Singapore and Hong Kong. So today, everything is global. And for us, for you, what does globalization mean? Thinking is just not sitting in a room and thinking. You have to look at the world market as one, what I just told you. Manufacture. Now, if you get into manufacturing or if you get into a strategic position of directing a company's activities, you must understand, the biggest cost. Cost is the biggest challenge to every industry, every manager. So, you must manufacture at the least cost. And you need, if you're going to be an upstart with the new, this new age business enterprise or premise which is now evolving, where people start everything on their own with the help of equity, you must borrow from the cheapest capital, because ultimately your P&L, your cash flows, your balance sheet is what is really going to matter on your performance. And then sell it in those countries where you can get the highest price and leverage global talent. Like I was telling you, if you, for example, I'll take that case in point, which is you have learned French as a language, you have done your MBA from Nirma, and you have, let's say, 3-4 years experience with Kerala. Forget Zydus. If there is a French company wanting to come into India, they look for global talent, and they look for talent which is, which is conducive to their way of functioning, which is language oriented. So, everybody, all of us like to leverage global talent. In all these countries where we are, most of our managers, at least the head of the business, is a local guy. Finance, we normally as a principal have our own person from India, but the regulatory person, the marketing person, the head of the business, they're all local people. So global talent, and just as we look for people outside, companies outside also will look for people from India. And having some of these additional skills will definitely help you. Again, what Professor was saying, I said, he has stolen. He was talking about galvanizing and electrifying. You have to have very high levels of energy. Now, from where will you get it, etc., it's your lookout. You have to have a piezoelectric self-motivation system. And that can come from good reading, good company, good nutrition. As you said, you don't have breakfast and faint in the class, doesn't make sense, correct? So you have to be sure that you are full of energy. Your energy levels have to be very high. It's 4 o'clock in the evening, I am not 40 years old, but my energy levels have not come down. So you must try to ensure that you get to getting such levels of energy by your own self-motivation and keeping yourself fit. Energize. You should all see. One is your internal energy. I'm very good, etc., etc. But what is my influence on my peer group or the people who are in my ecology or community? You have to have that ability. That will come to that leadership which we were discussing earlier. Cutting edge. Again, your professor said everything that I have in the presentation. He said, about a cutting edge technology which you get while studying in Nirma. So you have to have an edge, and with that edge, it should help you to make tough decisions. And lastly, execution. Very high action orientation. The phrase which we normally use is, whenever you have a situation or a problem at hand, you should have dispassionate analysis and passionate execution. 8 out of 10 leaders who succeed are these guys who do this dispassionate analysis and passionate execution. Because there are many intelligent people, very smart people, they get very good ideas, etc. But when it comes to execution, and execution is the toughest part of the job, if you ask me. You have heard of this Tom and Jerry? Tom and Jerry? Tom is the cat, Jerry is the mouse. So in that cartoon, you see that this Tom keeps on chasing Jerry. Correct? Inside, he goes inside, jumps up and all that. But does he ever catch Jerry? No. Why? The lesson in that is, Tom the cat is running for food to eat the mouse, which is a need. And Jerry, the mouse, is running for his life, which is a purpose, which shows that anywhere in any part of life, purpose is more important than need. And that you have to understand while you build your career. When you come out of Nirma, you have to understand that purpose is more important than need. You can't say, I need a job, I'll get married, I'll have children, etc. I need a job to this. You should have a purpose. Need is there, but need should be tertiary, not even secondary. Primary should be purpose. And I'll just read out what's written here. An individual with a purpose is more likely to succeed in life than someone without direction. A purpose in life helps individuals keep focused, be focused, provides a perspective, and destroys uncertainty. See, at the Harvard Business School, one of the case studies was a case study where they studied 100 companies around the world for a period of 25 years. And they conducted interviews of the employees of these 100 organizations, from the ex-chairman to the current chairman to the level of janitors. Janitor means the guy who cleans the floor. And on the basis of that, they found after this 25 years, out of these 100 companies, there were only 7 companies which consistently performed. And when they classified the findings, they found 3 large buckets. And these 3 buckets are really meaningful, really important. Not only because it was a Harvard case study, not because they studied this 100 companies over a period of 25 years, it is really meaningful. And listen to me. All these 7 companies which survived over 25 years, they had a consistency of purpose. If they were in pharmaceuticals, they never went into some unrelated areas. They stuck to their knitting, as they say. They were very focused. So there was a consistency of purpose. Second, commitment to effort. They found in these 7 companies, right from the top to the bottom, everyone was hardworking. There was no compromise on effort. Absolutely no compromise. Punctuality wise, office starts at 9 o'clock, then the targets have to be achieved, meetings have to be conducted, processes, methods, everything was done to the letter and also the spirit. So there was total commitment to effort. And finally, responsibility for results. Now you see, if I say, I have come to the office at 9 o'clock in the morning, instead of 6 o'clock, I have left at 7 o'clock. But now if the results don't come, what can I do? That's not done. Again, your professor said, no, Boston said, I don't care what has happened to you, I want results. Responsibility for results. In these 7 companies, they found that every responsible manager for performance like sales, etc., they were completely responsible for results. Nobody said, sir, I've done my activity, like we have this big challenge in the field, like medical reps, they say, I've met the doctors, I've done my 12 calls, but if my target is not achieved, what can I do? That is a very dangerous thing. And sometimes we may fall victim to this kind of thinking that, how am I responsible for results? So these 3 things are very, very important for any good organization to last for a longer period, which is consistency of purpose, commitment to effort, and responsibility for results. These 3 R's, I told you about the 3 A's, remember these 3 R's. The 3 R's, actually I learned this from healthcare personnel head of McKinsey from Canada, Singh or what was his name. This I read about 20 years ago. Learned from him. And we have been applying this. These are the 3 R's. The first is reliability. The second is repeatability. And the third is replicability. And I'll tell you what it is. Any good performance has to have these 3 R's. The first is the performance has to be reliable. What you do has to meet with, as the professor said, legal, moral, and from a statutory point of view, as well as from a performance point of view. Your performance has to be reliable. You could rely on that performance. It is not a flash in the pan. The second is it has to be repeatable. If you have done that for 6 months, you should be able to repeat it for the next 6 months, the next year, the year after that. And for that, you need to have proper methods, proper processes, proper practices to make it repeatable. And the third is replicable. Like we have done this. We did our business reliable and repeatable in India. And then in all these countries which we went to, we replicated the same model. Of course, in all the countries, the replication will not be the same. But in most of the countries, if your model is very successful in terms of reliability and repeatability, that model definitely will be successful in terms of replicability. So for any good performance, if you say this company's performance is good, you have to find out, is the performance reliable, is it repeatable, and is it replicable? For any good performance, these 3 R's are of prime importance. Last slide. Difficult to get into Nirma, but difficult to get out of Nirma. There is no shortcut to hard work. There is no substitute for hard work. These few years that you'll be spending in this campus will set the foundation for your 40 years of work or so of life. Make sure you give them your best shot, because there is no shortcut to hard work. So that is my message to you. You'll be taught, the faculty is a very good faculty here, and you will have case studies and all those, etc. Make sure that you apply your mind in full and proper earnest. Don't think that you've come here, I have to just spend these 2-3 years, I pass out anyway and go out. No. I don't think that attitude will help you later on in life, because these few years will lay the foundation for your addressing life with proper prudence, with proper temperance, and all the other good things which are required to be a good performing manager or person. Thank you. So if there are any question answers, I'll be more comfortable than having made this presentation. Or whatever is the format, Professor Verma. So it's already 5:30. I don't know what your curriculum provides you for. We started at 4. No questions. Yeah, what question will you ask me? Tell me. I'm just putting myself into your shoes. You'll ask me some academic question, which you can Google and find out.
Hello. Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Just out of the box question. If you are in your 20s right now, what will be your definition of the success?
That's a very loaded question. I mean, see, there are some basic elements because your question is quite straight also. At the age of 20, what would I think be the ingredients or requirements for success? Basic things. You have to, first primary for me is hard work. There is no substitute for hard work. Second is you have also to be street smart. So these are the two things you require. And then the third is a constant open mind to keep on learning. And as I told you, 45 years ago, what I knew and what I know today in the period of 45 years is multiplied by 100. So work hard, primary. Second is make sure that you have a very, very open mind to keep on evolving, keep on learning. These are the primary two things. That won't change. Even after 50 years also, if you ask somebody in my position, if sensible enough, he will give you these. What more? Street smart. You have to be street smart because the world is a very, it's a very tough place. There are a lot of people who try to play the fool with you. So unless you're street smart, you'll not be able to see it through. So work hard, be street smart, and always keep learning. Always. There's never an end to learning. And if you see my interview, even today I keep on learning. I learn even from my peon.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Not most important, they are equally important. Then because if you say moral values are higher, then you go to the Himalayas.
So how we can, stay balanced, that right up?
I have no answer to that. Now, I'll tell you why I have no answer to that. Because, the stimulus and response, very basic to this. So, depending on what extent, how politicized that organization is or that group is, depending how nasty those people are, depending upon how strong you are, like you see, if you are carrying a gun, I have a rifle. But if you're carrying a gun and I don't have anything, then the dynamics change. So that's why it is difficult to answer that question. But as the professor also mentioned, you have to try to keep your balance. And, this example I gave you of that Chennai thing, 20 years ago, even I would have done the same thing. I would have fought with that guy. Today, I will not fight because he has nothing to lose. He'll go to jail, etc. He'll go to hell. But for me, if something happens to me, there is so much, value in my being alive. So why would I get into an argument with I do not wish to call another human being petty, but why would I get into an argument with him in today's circumstances? Because if he does something like that, God forbid something happens to me, my loss is 100,000 times more than his loss. So you have to play it by ear, as they say, and you have to decide and depend. Many cases in an organization, if that happens, if it gets to a level of being very vicious, you leave the organization. You'll be at better peace than trying to combat that.
In your industry or let's say in your organization?
Yeah, simply. See, earlier, I used to travel 15-20 days in a month all over the world. Last 2.5 years, I did not travel. The first travel I had was just last week, 2 weeks I went to these places which I told you. Now, digitalization has completely, that the biggest learning is this. What I had to spend crores of rupees traveling and spending time, now I can do sitting in my office. And I would not have it complete this because it's a physical thing for a manager like me. When I'm talking to somebody, it's not intimidation, but that physical thing which I'm talking to you, I say, why not doing this? It's far different than talking, sitting in Brazil and I'm saying, why don't you do it? That makes a difference. The answer to your question, the biggest thing we have learned is how to use digitization and digitalization to our advantage in terms of communication. So it has helped, innovate today ESG, environment, social and governance plays a very important role. So the amount of travel which has come down, it has, led to reduction of the carbon print. So that is the learning. Learning is now I can work from home almost as effectively as physically going to the US or Mexico or Brazil.
Good evening, sir. So, what made you stay connected with Zydus for more than 40 plus years, and what kind of temperament you had while being so long in this journey? Zydus.
See, if you go through that interview, you will realize. But anyway, I'll tell you, since you asked me. First is my good luck. Unless you're lucky. See, nobody likes to leave an organization, because leaving an organization is demanding. It is not serious. Today I'm working with these 10 people, and I have built a good amount of rapport. Now suddenly I have to go and work with these 10 people. It is not easy. It's a different organization, different environment, different 10 people thinking. So nobody likes to leave an organization. But why does one leave an organization? One, the organization is not growing. Second, I have no opportunity to grow in this organization. Third, there are a lot of politics, and the joy of working doesn't exist. And the fourth is, the demand for money. Like all these three things are good, but I'm drawing a salary of 25 lakh rupees. This company is going to give me 40 lakh rupees. And my family circumstances are such that I badly need money, then I would change. Okay. So having said that, in my case, nowhere in my first 10 lists, there was a plan or point of joining a pharmaceutical company, but I joined. So now the question, why did I stay? One is the company was growing very well. The promoters were good. I got a very good opportunity to grow. There was no politics in the organization, and fortunately, I did not have any, compulsion from a family side to just change for the sake of money. And everything went off well, and this good.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, you spoke about making tough decisions. So, sir, is there a blueprint or a framework which you follow while taking tough decisions? As such, sir, I have been involved in the construction industry, wherein tough decisions, small tough decisions have to be taken every day on the construction side of a project management. But a wrong decision can actually hamper the lives of the laborers or the building stability or even the project cost. So it's quite easy to say take tough decisions, but is there a framework or a blueprint which we can follow? Because there are many oppositions coming when we take decisions in the world.
That's I would say a very important question. Because for us, we are in the area of pharmaceuticals. And pharmaceuticals is a very tricky business. We have so many regulatory constraints. So I classify it as the conflict between conscience and commerce. Conscience is whether it's the right thing to do or not. Commerce is what will be the impact on my business. Correct? So that conflict will always exist in any growing competitive business. So you have to decide that conflict. I call it a conscience versus commerce. Conscience is whether it's the right thing to do or not. Here, am I taking some shortcut, etc. Commerce is what will be the impact on the business. So you balance these two and then take a call.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Yeah.
The company was maintaining for 45 years. But rate of growth while changing company would have been different. Say not for the economic Indian, but for the personal development, it's a bit different, right? So, sir, why didn't you opt for that?
So because I told you that I had good opportunities. Please understand, I joined at the lowest level. And I have been, executive director and chief operating officer for the last 15 years. So I'm 67, 68 now. So at the age of 50, I was the executive director, etc. So I kept on getting those promotions, which I would have, we got them outside, maybe 1 or 2 years earlier, but nothing more than that. So that's why I see there's another point. I should not make that statement. I don't look down upon them, but I don't really hold them in high esteem. Those who keep on changing jobs after every 4 years to get the next position. Because I found in many cases, a guy who joins as a field manager, area manager, becomes a product manager, regional sales manager, this, etc. He becomes a vice president, senior vice president by the age of 40, 45. But then all of you are aware of Peter's principle. Level of competence comes, and I found that at least 5 out of these 10 people who have changed jobs, when they are 40, 45, then they cannot deliver, and then they lose their jobs. So
what's an own increment. But there is an element of personal growth. So if you change your company or do different things, so that would be a different domain and you can explore more out there. It's
possible. It's possible, sure. But in my case, I'm extremely satisfied. Correct? I'm not, there's no happiness in anybody's life, but I'm satisfied. I have done well for the company has grown high, and the company has definitely recognized my efforts. So, but otherwise, different things will apply to different people. What is written in your destiny will happen. So I don't have a clear answer. That's why I said I don't look down upon. But at the same time, I do not hold such individuals in very high esteem, because then it comes that this person is very, what should I say, not selfish. He is very, very conceited. He wants to make sure that he grows, leave the company, etc. I don't care. 4 years, 4 years, 4 years, 4 years. So somebody might say, what is wrong in that? So yeah, fun.
Yeah. Can we have one last question, guys?
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
So I went through your interview, and one of the reasons you mentioned there why you stuck so long with one industry is that it was a private organization.
See, that was ISB. I don't remember that, but since you made a mention, obviously I would have said it because you said you went to the interview. ISB, ISB, Hyderabad?
ISB Hyderabad.
They conducted an interview some 10 years ago with the top executives of family promoted companies as well as professional companies.
Right, yes.
And they had an interview. So there, I had made a mention. My view was that it is better to work for a family-owned company, provided the family has ethics. Like, see, I take great pride in my promoters, means the promoters of Zydus Life Sciences, because they are qualified by education. The founder, 72 years ago, was a Bachelor of Pharmacy. His son, the current chairman, is a Masters of Pharmacy. His son, Dr. Sharvil Patel, now is one of the most qualified persons in the pharma industry, at least in India. He has done his Master's, PhD from Johns Hopkins. So they know the pharmaceutical business well. So my point was, if you are working for a family-owned organization where the promoters are qualified by education and not purely having commerce at heart, then these companies will make sure that they keep on investing and they will not go quarter by quarter. Unlike professionally run companies where the CEO is completely, bogged down by quarter over quarter he has to perform. And he doesn't have any stake. Who cares? I make my money in 2-3 years, build a market cap, take my bonuses and get out. Whereas promoters will not do that, no? Promoters can't get out. So they have to understand, they know that they are there for the long term. They might say, Ganesh Nayak will come and go, but I am going to be there. So I will not take any shortcuts. 1 quarter is bad, 2 quarters are bad, no problem. If investment is required, I will do that. So in that context, I had said, from my experience, I feel because of these factors, one would find greater value in working in family-owned organizations than in completely professional organizations.
So accountability was one of the factors because the family was accountable.
Not accountability, I don't know what is the right word. What I said, they are very clear. We don't go by quarter. We are interested in the future of the company. So if there's an investment required of 10 crore rupees today and it is going to affect our bottom line, we'll still go ahead with that. Whereas in a professional organization, if I am the CEO, I'll say, by spending that 10 crores, my bottom line will get affected. My results will not be good. It will affect So, from that point of view. Thank you. So, what is next on the agenda?
Thank you, sir, for such enlightening, inspiring, and interactive session. It was indeed an honor for all of us. Thank you. We would now request Dr. Subir Verma, Director, Institute of Management, Nirma University, to address the audience. Sir.
Very good afternoon to all of you. It's now almost like good evening, I guess. I'm feeling like Rahul Dravid right now. You had a Sachin, you had a Sehwag. And what does Rahul Dravid do? He plays his own game. So that's what I plan to do right now. I play my own game. All right? In the initial program, I was supposed to come before everybody, but then I think that's how we adapt to situations. Okay? And that's one reason why Dr. Anup Singh is not here. He had an urgent meeting to attend to. So my apologies on his behalf. Let me play around with words right now. Today, this day of 11 July 2022, is an August day. It's a very auspicious day for almost all of you, because on this day you start your journey of learning and preparation for the wonderful world of corporate life. And that is what Mr. Nayak was able to bring about so well and in such a splendid manner, in such an eloquent manner. So thank you, Mr. Nayak, for telling them that if they continue to be in the organization, if they remain committed, if they continue doing hard work, then you have space everywhere, irrespective whether you belong to the family or you do not belong to the family. All right? You don't have to be the sons and daughters of the Ambani to be where you could be. You could be Mr. Nayak and still could be where you can. So thank you, Mr. Nayak. I think yours is just the perfect example. In the Institute of Management, Nirma University, learning and excelling is a journey. And this requires a continuous and a persistent exploration of self, of possibilities, of pushing the boundaries. And in today's world, I call it the post-VUCA world, not the VUCA world. I call it the world of continuous failing, fast failing, and equally fast learning. Now, if you can do all that, you will succeed. Right? So, and this is exactly what we let our students do over here. That is inside the classes. And our pedagogy is designed to encourage you to do all that. And you just saw three kinds of pedagogy right before you. You saw Dr. Singh speaking to you extempore. You saw Mr. Nayak speaking to you through slides. And I have my notes with me. And that's how you'll experience faculty over here. That's how you'll experience learning over here. So you need to be absolutely resilient and adapt to situations and excel in that. All right? So with the slides, pretty easy. You can get those slides. With somebody who speaks like the way Dr. Singh spoke, you have to take down the notes fast and furious. And with somebody like me, you have to hear me equally fast and furious. Okay. Outside the class, we celebrate life and living. And we place a lot of emphasis on co-curricular activities. Dr. Singh pointed this thing out to you. And Mr. Nayak also told you about it, that in the 3 A's that he underlined, one of the most important A was athletics. So we are seeing the same thing. We are putting a great emphasis on co-curricular life. And for we believe and we want to understand that there are multiple ways through which, and I would say multiple ways beyond the scaffolds of the classroom through which you can express and enhance yourself. All right? And our clubs and committees are basically for that purpose. It has an element of volunteerism. Today, in today's world, I think there's an element of compulsion for all of you. So please join any club, every committee that you can lay your hands upon to qualify into it and create yourself. Now, MBA is also about building a network. And I remember an English poet called John Donne who said, "No man is an island entire of itself." You can't do things alone, even if you feel you're very good at it. I remember another guy called Tim Sanders, and who said, famously said, this is one of the most famous quotations that you can see loosely bandied about, that your network is your net worth. But for me, a much more important person is an author by the name of Porter Gale, and his book is Your Network is Your Net Worth. And he said that networking is not an end in itself. Okay? And what did he say? He said your net worth will be based not on the size of your financial portfolio or the size of your network, but on your ability to define and stay true to your passions and values. Seeking out and working in collaboration with others who share your interests and values will provide a stronger and a more enduring foundation for greater output, higher level of success, and personal fulfillment. What's the bottom line? The bottom line is, do not create a network at the cost of your principles and values. I think that's something that we need to worry about. And I'm very grateful to Dr. Singh and also to Mr. Nayak to underline the importance of values for all of us. Now, we encourage you, right now I'm talking like a director now. We encourage you to use our library. I want footfalls over there. All right? We encourage you to use our softwares, our databases, our e-resources. I want more and more hits over there with a longer staying time. Okay? Read as much as you can. I still do. Maybe this, for a lot of you, this will be the last time that probably you will read. So please do read. You'll never ever have the time or the leisure to do so. You will never have an excuse to do so. You can't say in your office, look, I was reading if I could not do something. Over here, if you say that I was reading and I was not able to do something, the only thing that will tell you is to maybe say something about whatever you have read. That's good enough. So please, 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 for God's sake, read, develop a critical mind and an inquiring mind, and talk to our faculty. Please do talk to our faculty. We have a timetable in which there are class sessions. Now, in the same timetable, you also have office hours. Now, that's a very sacrosanct hour that the faculty has set aside for you. That's when you can approach them to clarify any doubt that you may have had while they were conducting the class. So any subject-related doubt, walk into the faculty's room during the office hours, and he'll be there to, or he or she will be there to address them. Beyond those office hours, the faculty is still available to you, to mentor you, to guide you and advise you. Look, we live by you. We are defined by you. And that's the way all of us committed to our passion, which is teaching and also creating great citizens like all of you. Now, above all, explore the campus. We are clean, I like these words. We are clean, green, eco-friendly, climate-conscious, multidisciplinary university. All right? So you'll discover that some of the sessions and some of the courses are taken not by the faculty of management, but by a faculty of law, or a faculty of technology, or a faculty of even design. So we may have design thinking being taught by maybe the director of the Institute of Design rather than professor of management. And I don't think any other business school, and I've seen a lot of them. I've seen more business schools than probably a lot of people over here. Change jobs more often than what Mr. Nayak would have suggested. Being greedy in terms of aspirations. I'm here because of that reason too. So my way of saying that, do not get contented and satisfied easily. There's always more that you can give. And if the organization is good enough like Zydus to take and absorb more of whatever you can give, then it's great. Otherwise, move on. That's my take on this. But no other B school in the country can boast of what we have. And we plan to leverage all of that which we have over here. And finally, while you're here, explore the city. Look, I'm an outsider. I do not belong to Ahmedabad. I don't belong to Gujarat. My eating habits are different. My drinking habits are also different. I prefer a different kind of a liquid. But I'm comfortable over here. Okay, the good water holes that is outside of Gujarat. Go there if you want to, or if you can, or if you give you time for that. But please believe me, this place, and I've stayed here for 6 years in IMNU Ahmedabad, and I can tell you about this. This place has got some wonderful sights, and the cultural vibrancy is such, and you'll experience all of that during the garbas and the whatever nights that you can have over here. Fantastic so far. Culture is very vibrant, and I think it's going to enthuse all of you. And there's a multi-cuisine fairs also for people who are non-vegetarians like me. There is a space. Okay? There's a space I can go out and have food, and please do. Please experiment over here. And look, I come from Gurgaon, and you can imagine the life in Gurgaon that we had as compared to life that I have over here. But that's not the end of the world. That's not the end of the world. I think you are in good times right now. Think of it, sages and Rams and Ramji and all these great gods that we all have, the Pandavas. They used to stay in the Gurukul in the village. They used to do community work like tending to the cows and doing whatnot for the master. Over here, you don't have to do all that, you know. All right, so you guys are better off in a way. Look, admire the way this place is growing. Become part of the growth of this cosmopolis that you see. The very frenetic pace that I see all around. And I am really touched. Coming from a place where I do not see such kind of a growth, this place has everything. So please explore Ahmedabad. Please explore the multi-cuisine fair that we have. And I'm sure you'll forget the Gurgaons of the world. And believe me, I've stayed there for 20 years. I know what I'm saying. Now, while you're at it, that's another part of the director. Remember, professionalism is all about discipline, dedication, hard work, time, and result orientation. Above all, rules are very important. Okay? And look, I was born during the time, I'm sure I was also born during the time, where being a rebel was a fashion. Okay? Hippies, long hair, dam marudam, Beatles, education being another brick in the wall, Pink Floyd. Well, we belong to that world, you know. We used to take out a flag just because of somebody called Che Guevara was fighting something in Cuba, and we said, well, that's good enough to take a flag out in the university. That's what we did. Okay. Now, for me, my favorite author at that time was J.D. Salinger. All right? And the name of the book was Catcher in the Rye. Read that book. Ever get a chance? He was a teenage icon for all of us, the rebel that all of us wanted to be. He did exactly everything that my parents told me not to do, including going around with your lady love. So whatever my parents told me not to do, that guy did it, and he wrote that book in such a beautiful, poetic way. Read that book, J.D. Salinger, and for me, this guy was Holden Caulfield. And he said, I quote, "Life is a game, boy. Life is a game that one plays according to the rules. Over here, play the game as per the rules." Okay? And you will learn a lot. Now, you have your parents and guardians over here. They're very doting. Some of them are sitting in the other room. I have only one message for them. That, sir, madam, you have trusted us with your child, with the award, and we assure you that after this journey, your child will come back to you as one of the finest specimen of human being. Ethical, entrepreneurial, employable, and socially responsible. At one point of time, Tata Steel used to have this tagline, "We also make steel." In IMNU, we have our tagline, "We make characters." So thank you very much, and very warm wishes to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for those inspiring thoughts. As a mark of our gratitude, we now request Dr. Subir Verma to present a memento to Mr. Ganesh Nayak. Thank you, sirs. With this, we come to the end of this inaugural session. We extend our gratitude to Mr. Ganesh Nayak for taking time out from his busy schedule and gracing the occasion. We would like to thank Dr. Anup Singh for joining us on this occasion and motivating the new batch. We extend our thanks to Dr. Subir Verma for his invaluable advice, support, and presence in this function.
We express our gratitude to Mr. G.R. Nayak, Executive Registrar, Nirma University. Our thanks are also due to all the HOIs of our sister institutes and our faculty colleagues for joining us here. We thank members of the media for being here with us. Our thanks are also due to Mr. Gant, Mr. Mahesh, Mr. Mahir, and Mr. Vishal for their support in helping us organize this inaugural session and the induction program to follow. Lastly, our thanks to all the students who have joined us here today. In the end, we request everyone to please stand up for national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना उत्तर जलधि तरंगा शुभ नामे जागे शुभ आशीष मांगे गाए तब जय गाथा जनगण मंगलदायक जय हे भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे
Thank you for having us on the phone.